This year, the Americans have once again started the first test flights to get us back to the moon, but NASA relies heavily on Elon Musk. The SpaceX founder is currently in the driver's seat for all plans which will get humanity into orbit once again. In today's video, we're going to take a deep dive into NASA's new SLS rocket and why they are absolutely dependent on Elon Musk and SpaceX. Stay tuned until the end of the video to find out this and more. In mid-March, a giant belt-driven vehicle transported the almost 100-meter-tall SLS rocket, the Space Launch System, to Platform 39B at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The goal was to conduct all tests before launch. This did not go to plan, and NASA found out that there were both broken valves and a leaking fuel line. Since NASA leaves nothing to chance, the test team decided on Easter Eve that the rocket must be transported back to its enormous garage to undergo maintenance and repairs. The new rocket from NASA will be the flagship of the new space program and will be named Artemis. The name is after the twin sister of the Greek god Apollo, which was the name of the first manned flights to the lunar surface between 1968 and 1972. In total, 12 astronauts have stepped on the moon to this day, but with NASA and SpaceX collaborating, the wait will soon be over. If everything goes to plan, the first flight into space will be this summer, but the first trip will not carry any personnel. Instead, there will be two dolls on board, Helga and Zohar, which will be enjoying the view. These two lifelike dolls will measure the radiation for a German-Israeli experiment. The first astronauts will be flying with the SLS rocket in about 2 years. The research and development of the SLS rocket has cost about $20 billion. In addition to this, every flight will cost more than $4 billion. The money is pouring out. But since the project is giving jobs to companies in all 50 states, Congress is granting the funds needed every year. Space travel has also gotten both cheaper and smarter in the 21st century. Besides NASA's SLS rocket, there is one other super rocket, Starship, developed by Elon Musk's SpaceX and its thousands of engineers, without any direct funding from the American taxpayers. The SpaceX founder and head of Tesla has revolutionized space travel with this one simple trick. Unlike its competitors, SpaceX can reuse their rockets. The competitors' rockets burn up in the atmosphere, while SpaceX's rockets can land themselves. To this day, about 90% of SpaceX's landings have been successful, and some of the rockets have already been to space more than 10 times. No one is even close to matching the feat of engineering that SpaceX has accomplished in record time. Not only this, but SpaceX is also the most important supplier of equipment to NASA. The time where space travel only was backed by nation-states is over. This is first of all thanks to Elon Musk. SpaceX is currently transporting satellites for several international and commercial customers, and best of all, they're doing it way cheaper than, for example, European Air and Space or the American United Launch Alliance. Elon Musk is also establishing his very own fleet of satellites, which will provide internet connection to very remote locations. Also, SpaceX is on a mission for U.S. authorities to transport both cargo and personnel to the ISS, the International Space Station. Before we move on, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Since the SLS rocket is developed by NASA, that is, the government, this rocket will be the first step in a multi-stage plan to get astronauts on the moon again. The SLS rocket will take the astronauts to orbit around the moon, where they will board the landing vessel. Elon's moon taxi has in advance been launched without a crew and is fully prepared with fuel and supplies, just waiting for the astronauts. Why do the astronauts switch vessels mid-flight, you ask? Truth be told, Elon Musk's Starship could do the entire trip with the crew themselves from takeoff on Earth until landing on the moon, all without the SLS, which exists because of political incentive. Not to mention the costs. The billionaire space entrepreneur has developed ways to do this entire flight dramatically cheaper. SpaceX is talking about launch costs of about $2 million. This is only 1/2000th of what the SLS will cost to launch into space, which is a whopping $4 billion. The Starship would furthermore be launched right next to the SLS rocket since SpaceX is currently renting Launch Platform 39A at the Kennedy Space Center. The lease is until 2034 and might be extended further. From this launch pad, even the previous Saturn V, also known as the Moon rocket, which were first launched in 1967, have been launched. As you can probably see, the SLS rocket from NASA is competing with SpaceX's Starship, but it already lost. Not only that, but NASA has already put its faith in Musk's hands by buying at least 2 Starships to perform the moon landings. Only at a later time vessels from other suppliers could be considered. The first trip to the moon with Starship was originally planned last year, but because of environmental tests conducted by the FAA, the attempt was delayed. But now, Elon Musk is counting on the super rocket to be able to launch for the first time this year. After the moon landing, Starship will also make flights to Mars possible, which is something that Musk has dreamed about for several years. After all, the biggest dream of the richest man in the world is to make interplanetary life possible and make the human species able to become a space-traveling civilization. Not everything has been easy for SpaceX throughout time. When the company got funded by Elon Musk in 2002, there was nothing that indicated it would have the right to life. All 3 launch attempts with the then newly developed Falcon 1 rocket went wrong and people started to doubt. In the end, changes to the program made sure it was a success nonetheless. Last year, more SpaceX rockets than ever got launched. A handful of them are ordered by NASA. What do you think? Will Mr.Universe succeed in his mission? After all, Musk has said that he will be surprised if the human race has not set foot on Mars within 5 years. Comment your thoughts below.